Empty the chamber on them. And how do you do that? First 6 seconds, point A to point B, everything you got. Everything you got. Turn that shit up. Let's go.
Welcome to the Scoop World Order. We are going camping edition. It is camp season. It is in full effect at the Woody Hayes and across the country. This is the month where dreams are made by young high school kids who are trying to earn that dream offer to Ohio State or the college of their choice. Obviously, kids that are camping at Ohio State want to play at Ohio State. This is a huge month. I endured the camp scene. Did 5 straight days of camp when I was a senior to earn my offer, and I still didn't get my offer till December after my senior year, but it was well worth it. But camp is a huge time for a lot of these kids to shine, compete, be coached, and you just kind of show their wares. So super excited to get into this one. This is going to be a great show. But real quick, as always, at the top of the show, I always thank you guys. Thank you so much. Our last 2 videos have been 2 of our biggest in the history of Buckeye Scoop. We passed 30,000 views on one. We passed 18,000 on another. Check both those out. Tyler Atkinson got offered by Ohio State after our video. And Samson Okunlawa is going to be a guy that we're going to be in it through the thick of things. He's a 5-star tackle. We really want to stress how much we enjoy doing this for you guys. And, we always want to educate you. We always want to make sure that you guys are learning something when you watch this and you guys enjoy it. So please, give us some comments. What recruit, if you could pick one guy that Ohio State is in the game for, would you want to add? Would it be a 5-star tackle? Would it be a quarterback that we haven't gotten yet? Which position are you worried about? Would it be a second running back, a second 5-star running back? But comment that, because I always love hearing your feedback. Appreciate you guys. So that being said, gonna bring in my good friend Nevada. Nevada, how are you?
Doing great. This is a great time of the year. Camp season's always fun, and it's been some exciting days at the Woody, and some really exciting days coming up. So this is a big time of year for sure.
Yeah, we're gonna get right into it because this is I don't know if sometimes people don't understand how important these camp days are. So we're gonna get right into camp season. So obviously, one of the big areas of concern for Ohio State is the offensive tackle position. I'm not concerned about it. I don't know how concerned the coaches are about it. I think you got to get some longer length guys. But, you see Kevin Wilson, Ryan Day working out a kid named Jordan Hall, 6'8". He's out of Columbus. Not sure if he is an Ohio State type of talent, but he's got Ohio State size at 6'8". And then below there, you see Luke Montgomery, Josh Padilla, Austin Searvold, 3 guys that are committed. But, the tackle thing is something that's going to be real interesting in camp season because, outside of Samson Okunlawa and the Finnish kid who's from the East Coast, I'm not sure who else is going to be in. And we really have not seen much in terms of talent at the offensive tackle position in camp through the first week. Nevada, what are your thoughts on the offensive line and the tackle situation? Should people be concerned or is it overblown?
Nah, I think it's overblown. I think Ohio State's looking. I mean, the fact that they're looking at projects right now inside the state of Ohio, it's a little concerning in terms of how they feel nationally. But right now, there's not a lot of great options for them on the table. But I'm just not concerned. Not with the portal. Not with the guys that are behind. I say this in every podcast whenever we talk to the offensive line. I'm just not concerned about the offensive line. I've been hearing about issues in the offensive line for literally 20 years, and it's never manifested itself in terms of anything that was ever an issue. I think we've got guys. I think we've got guys on top of guys, and I'm not concerned. I think Fry's a great coach. I think he's got 3 solid prospects there to start off the class, and you sprinkle in 1 more guy or 2 more guys, and I think this is going to be a terrific offensive line class, and just don't. I really don't have any concerns.
Yeah, and I don't either. And I think that between the portal and coming into signing day, I think we'll land a couple of tackles that can really play. I think next year, after Paris Johnson goes pro, I think DJ Donovan Jackson, I would lose no sleep with him at left tackle. I think he's fantastic. He has great length, long arms, super twitchy, super athletic. A freak show, maybe our strongest offensive lineman. He's only a true sophomore. So I have, and the thing about our run right now is it should be supremely easy to recruit offensive tackles just based on the fact that we just had 2 get drafted in Thayer Munford and Nick Petit-Frere. We're going to have 2 more get drafted in this draft. So through 2 drafts, we're going to have 4 draft picks. Paris will probably go in the first round. DeJuan will probably go, 3rd or 4th round, whatever he goes, depending on how the season goes. So you have 4 tackles getting drafted in 2 years, which is as good as you can possibly do. And then, you have Donovan at left tackle, and then you just got to find one. And we've got Zen, we've got, Fitzpatrick. We've got a bunch of young guys that could take that right tackle spot, and we won't even worry about it. But, when you're in the recruiting game, kids are always concerned about the depth chart. They're always concerned about how long it's going to be talking play. And if I'm looking at Samson Okunlola or some of these kids that are 5 stars, I'd be like, look, if you want to play next year, we're losing both tackles. So there's nobody that can have a better circumstance than that, than saying, hey, we're losing our 2 guys to the NFL. So if you want to come play, if you think you're good enough to come start as a freshman, nobody has a more clear depth chart than we do. So I think that's a huge advantage for recruiting. And I also think this will be the first time where we potentially could actually get a portal guy at tackle. I know we got Jonah Jackson a few years ago. Obviously, we've had tremendous success with Justin Fields, Trey Sermon, Tanner McAllister. But, this is a time where we got that open spot. We haven't had an open spot at tackle in years, just because Thayer started when he was young. Nick Petit waited his turn. He wasn't going to get beaten out. And then right now you have Paris and DeWand. So no one's going to come try to play over those guys because they won't be able to beat them out. But next year, there's a real shot that one or both tackle spots will be wide open. But, if I'm Justin Fry, just for the sake of my anxiety, I put DJ at left tackle and forget about it, and then just let the rest of the ships fall where they may. So through the first week, we've had some big offers. These are just a couple of them. We've probably had about a dozen or so offers. Larry Johnson is really cleaning up on the defensive ends. Jalen Thompson, Elias Rudolph. We offered our 23 quarterback. We offered another one today, actually, Austin Ovasad, but he's a Baylor commit. Also, our boy Tyler Atkinson got offered. He was at the first day camp, was the best player on the field as I believe he's 15. He's a freshman. Just finished 8th grade a month ago, and he dominated. What do you think of our current offer situation in Nevada? Are you concerned about anything? Are you, is this the time to get in with some of these really young kids, these 26s, these 2026 kids? What do you make of the offers right now?
Well, I think they are. I think there's an emphasis on getting in with some of the younger kids, and I think that's been an area of emphasis for Day, is that they want to get on kids earlier. And I think that's one of the beauties of these camp setups, is that they're able to interact with the kids. They're able to get accurate measurements. They're able to really find out a little bit about the kids, how their deportment is, how their education is, how they take to coaching. And so I think what you're seeing with Ryan Day is they're making an emphasis towards getting on the kids earlier, getting them in there younger, and establishing those relationships. And Ohio State hopes that pays big dividends down the road.
Yeah, and the interesting thing with camps is, like last year, for instance, Dylan Ariola didn't even camp here. And then, within 6 months, he becomes the number 1 player in the country, and he becomes our quarterback. And this time last year, everybody thought Jaden Davis was going to be our take in 2024 or 23 if he had reclassified. Richard Young was here last year. We're out of the race on that one. So it'll be interesting to see if some of these young guys really hold true, and Ohio State really is a player with a kid like Tyler Atkinson, with Chris Henry Jr., who we're going to talk about here in a second. Some of these young guys who are from, they're from the South, and frankly, with some of these kids, like, will we ever see them again? Like some of these kids that are, sophomores going into their junior years, like they might never come to Ohio State again. And that's a real thing. Like with Richard Young, like he camped and he came up for a visit, but we haven't seen him since, and we're out of the race on that one. So, camp is a lot different now than it used to be, because I feel like most of the kids that are committed or have offers, they elect not to camp. So, I feel like it's a little bit less competitive than it used to be, but, one thing that is different, because this is the biggest month of the year for recruiting, because between the camps and now that you can host official visits, we have a list here of, this isn't completely accurate, but it's semi-accurate. I was trying to compile who was coming, when, and the fact that you could do an official visit in June, Nevada, talk about how big of a difference that is as opposed to, when these kids had to come in like for a game weekend or in December when there's no games. How different is it that these kids can come on a paid visit in June compared to the olden days?
Well, it's completely changes everything, and now the recruiting calendar switches where the emphasis really becomes the month of June. And before it would be November, it'd be the weekend of the Michigan game, or we'd have other focused weekends where Ohio State would really be kind of putting on their best efforts to get with these kids. But now it's coming June, which is a little different because one of the biggest things about Ohio State was really the game day experience and that's something that you can't replicate that, and it's really something that sets Ohio State apart is the magic of the shoe and how it is on a game day. And so I'm not sure you're getting that in June. Will that affect Ohio State in recruiting? Probably not a lot. I mean, Ohio State's still going to clean up, but it is definitely different. And I think what you're going to see is you're going to see more early commits right after that. So this whole timetable of when kids are committing, when they're really kind of refining their interest in Ohio State, and how do we find out really who the guys are that are players and who's just talking. I think that focus is going to be June now, and that's a pretty profound change.
Yeah, and I personally, if I'm a coach and I have kids like Luke Montgomery and kids that are stone cold lock commits, I want to knock out those officials all in June if possible to lighten the load, because in-season officials are absolutely miserable for coaches because they always want to come for the biggest game. So it's going to be Notre Dame or Michigan or one of those. So the coaches are focused on trying to win the game, but then you also have to juggle spending time with a kid who's up and his parents and and when you play a good team, there's a chance you might lose the game. Like, we lost to Oregon last year, which was a big visit weekend. And, there's nothing worse than when you're hosting a kid and his family and you lose the game and you still got to go out to dinner with them and talk with Coach Day on Sunday and everybody's miserable and depressed. And, that's the beauty of June is that the weather's great. People are excited and happy. People are, everyone's in town and, like I said, you got kids like, the 14th through 19th is going to be huge. You've got, Mark Fletcher, who's from South Florida Express. He goes by the name Q. He's got Brandon Ennis, who everyone's trying to close down, before his senior year. You've got all the O-line guys that same weekend. They're going to be working to close down Ennis and close down a bunch of these other kids. And Dylan Raiola's coming in for that weekend too. So you're going to have this big conglomerate of committed kids that are going to be working on these uncommitted kids. And it's always fun when you kind of see that dynamic of like it's like a glob where you're trying to make it bigger by getting more kids to commit to your class. And you got a lot of pride in getting guys in. But I love the June visits because I think that the coaching staff loves the June visits. And if I'm a player, I don't mind knocking my visit out now so I don't have to do it in season or in December, or if kids have basketball, because a lot of these kids play basketball too, and it can be a pain to go on an official visit when you've got a basketball game on the weekend or whatever. It's just kind of, I don't know. It's a nice little touch. But yeah, there's some big names out here. Tackett Curtis is coming at the end of June. I think we're gonna get him. Fantastic player from Louisiana. Ola Shalinen is a kid from Finland. Big tackle. I mean, you don't usually get excited about kids from Connecticut, but he's a different beast, man. He's every bit of 6'6". I think that he's a guy that I think Justin Frye really needs to close out. Because we really need he'd be a high 4-star tackle. He'd be a good pair with Luke Montgomery. I think Luke Montgomery's the tackle all the way. I know that Justin Frye does the very political thing and tells them to get ready for every spot, which you should always tell linemen so they don't get heartbroken if they don't get to play left tackle the first day of fall camp when they're freshmen. But I'm just excited. Like I said, this adds an extra injection of excitement to June when you have all these officials and you've got kids from, all over the country that can actually have a paid visit. Because for those that you don't know, there's unofficial visits where you come to the school, and there's official visits. An unofficial visit, you have to pay for your own plane ticket, your own hotel, your own meals, all of that. An official visit, the school pays for all that. So they'll pay for your flight, they'll pay for your hotel room, kind of take you out, nice meals, your family gets to eat at Hyde Park, and they really do it up. It's a fun experience. And in June, like, you don't have the stress of football, you don't have the stress of beating Michigan the next day, and it's kind of fun. So I'm gonna shift gears to another 2026 that we offered. Nevada, I asked you this for the Tyler Atkinson video. Can you remember the last time we offered 2 8th graders, going into their 9th grade year in Ohio State history? Has it ever happened?
Well, no, it hasn't. And again, I think you've got to recognize this. This is a change. This is not happenstance. This is by design. Ohio State's making a real commitment to try to get out these kids earlier, and being part of those first offers is really one of the ways for these big time recruits that you can be remembered, kind of separate yourself from the pack. And Ohio State's going to be more and more aggressive with it. I think a lot of fans find it kind of unseemly and kind of gross, but it's just welcome to 2022 and big boy recruiting. That's what you got to do. And Ryan Day's stepping up and doing it.
Yeah, I think that part of it, and like you're right, people they don't like it, they think it's unseemly, but part of it is you got to understand that these guys, these kids all remember their first offer. So I mean, as weird as that is, it's kind of like when you're in whatever grade you're in, you get your first kiss, or you go on your first date, or your prom date, or whatever. It's kind of the same thing. So I cut up again. I'm becoming an expert at cutting these highlights of these kids, but this kid is an eighth grader. This is an eighth grade basketball game. He's in the yellow shoes. And like most eighth graders aren't doing this. You don't see the one step bounce, dunking just easy as can be. Supernatural athlete. His father is the late Chris Henry, former Bengal. I mean, he looks just like him. His nickname, I was actually with his dad in '08 in Cincinnati, '08, '09. His nickname was Slim. It was when, we had TJ Houston-Jada and Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco. And those three were like the three receivers for the Bengals. And, the kid is just, it's funny when I watch him with eighth graders because it just isn't fair. Because he looks like a high schooler in these clips. Like it looks like you've got like an 11th grader going against eighth graders. And you see how tall he is, how lanky he is. And the fact that he hasn't even played a snap of high school is almost crazy. But I'm not gonna go the Randy Moss route, but like you look at how lanky he is and how how he just runs past everybody. He kind of looks like an eighth grade Randy Moss, which I know that sounds crazy, but and again, these poor kids are so overmatched going against them. Like it's almost not even fair. They just kind of just fall down while he high points the ball. But what do you think, Nevada? I mean, is it too early to offer a kid this young? Is there any downside to it?
No, I mean, look, the only downside on any of these early offers is if you have to pull the offer, will it
No.
upset the program or the coach or the high school that the kid's coming from? And I think with kids like this, it's a can't miss kid. I think it's a low risk, high return type of proposition. So I would offer all these kids, or I should say, I'd offer enough of these kids to keep it exclusive, keep it special. But I think you got to do it, and there's a reason why some of the greatest recruiters in college football do stuff like this. It's because it works. And so for Ohio State to get in on him, this kid's got such an interesting backstory with Pac-Man kind of assuming the role of the father figure for him, and I just think everything about this kid is interesting, and I'm going to be fascinated to watch his journey here the next few years and see if he ends up a Buckeye.
Yeah, and he lives in Cincinnati. Obviously, Adam Pac-Man Jones was a Cincinnati Bengal for a long time. He was best friends and college teammates with Slim, with Chris Henry Sr. And when he passed away, Pac-Man actually adopted his kids. Which is it's pretty unbelievable when you think about. I have a couple kids. Obviously in Nevada. I know you've got your family. When you think about the amount of emotional support, expense, raising additional kids, like it's a big ordeal. It's I mean they're living, they're not, they don't go anywhere, they're with you for forever. And and the kid he dominated at camp yesterday, and Brian Hartline offered him, and if Brian Hartline offers a kid, it's he doesn't just screw around when he offers kids. He's offering guys that he thinks can be elite superstar type players, and I think this kid could be just that. This is the Under Armour next camp. He was at this, and he was also at the Under Armour eighth grade. They had an eighth grade All American game that Tyler Atkinson was at. And again, I'm going back to the dunk clip because I just love the athleticism and the spring of this kid. But it's I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It's an interesting month to see two guys that aren't even ninth graders get offered by Ohio State, but they very well could end up being 5-stars. And I think when you go early on a D end or on a receiver, there's a lot less risk than when you go early on a quarterback, because Nevada, obviously, you remember the Danny Clark situation. We went on him, I believe, his freshman year. He committed. The whole situation was really, I don't know what the word is, maybe sad. How he ended up not getting his, they ended up not recruiting him. He ended up having to go to Kentucky. Do you remember that? I mean, how would you remember that whole situation?
No, I remember that one well. Knew the dad well, it's sad, but on the other hand, you know, Danny got a chance to play or have a scholarship to Kentucky. The idea on any of these kids that they end up at these other Division I schools. I mean, while it's not Ohio State and you have the tattoo and you got to change it to a Wildcat from the Blocko or whatever it is, it's I think they'll face bigger adversity in their life, and at least they got a scholarship. I mean, so I mean, the rare era that these kids are in when they're picking between Kentucky and Auburn and Ohio State, and I mean, it's they're all elite athletes, and they're all ended up at great spots, and a lot of great players come out of Kentucky as well. So I feel obviously, and I know you share the same sentiment. I feel much worse for Danny about what happened with his father than the Ohio State situation. I think it's unfortunate, but just a bump in the road.
Yeah, it was tough. His younger brother, Caden, transferred from Alabama up to Akron. Yeah, it's an interesting gig. Like, recruiting is not for the faint of heart. I tell that to people. I tell kids, that ask my advice on where they should go to school. I say, pick the college that you like the best. Like, don't go because of a coach. Don't go because of a position coach, a head coach, a strength coach. Like, go to the school that you want to go to, and then the rest will happen from there. Because as you know, Nevada, we've seen, Stan Drayton take off the day after signing day on Mike Weber. You see coaches that leave for better situations to go be a coordinator, to go to the NFL, whatever it is. And there's players. I don't think that they realize how little of a true relationship the coaches have with them. Because these coaches are loyal to their family and their ambitions, and they're really only as faithful as their options. So you got to really go somewhere that you want to go to, a city that you like. I tell kids, if you're an Ohio kid and it's between Ohio State and Michigan, go to Ohio State, because unless you want to live in Michigan the rest of your life, it's probably better to go to Ohio State, because when you're working and selling insurance or selling cars or whatever you're doing, being a doctor, being a Buckeye, it means a lot more in the state than being a Wolverine. And that's just part of the gig. And, I think that that's sound advice just from, my own personal experience in this realm of being in business right now. So to close this one out, man, this is another good episode, another phenom. Another big week of camp coming next week. They got youth camp tomorrow. These coaches can't wait for this to be over. This is like the halfway point, because they've had 3 one-day camps and they've got 3 more to go, and then they get to go on vacation for about a month before training camp starts. But any final thoughts, Nevada, to close this one out?
I missed camp season, when camp season was about the mentors and the guys like Uncle Genron that were coming to work the camps, and the schools would have to pay these guys obscene amounts of money to work the camp, and that's just in case, and bring your 6-star cornerback nephew along with you when you come. I do miss those days. Those were good times. That's when recruiting was really kind of the wild west. Now it's NIL and other things, but camp mentors was one of my favorite camp things, and so yeah, I'll close with that. But I do miss that.
So all those high school coaches that used to come up from Florida weren't just there because they wanted to come to Ohio in June. They actually they were getting paid their speaking fees and the like to bring some guys up.
Just a couple dollars, just to kind of keep the lights on, just to keep it fair.
Keep the gas tank full. Gotta pay you the mileage, but the mileage is like from Earth to Jupiter, basically.
Exactly.
Where'd you come from? Jupiter, Florida? No, I came from the planet Jupiter. So please express my mileage check as such. So, oh God, well, this has been a great one, man. I'm gonna lock this thing down. Again, appreciate you guys. The Scoop's going crazy right now, thanks to you. Largest Ohio State message board in existence, the most active board in existence. Great inside information, great camp coverage. It's been an absolute blast. I love breaking down these new prospects, these new offers, what's going on with summer conditioning. We've got a big nugget coming up probably tomorrow, if not the next day on that. and just super excited about this. So again, we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you so much, Scoop family. You guys are the best. Please, if you enjoy this video, leave me a like. Give me some comments. What recruit do we have to close in the coming months to make you feel good about our recruiting class? Appreciate you guys. You guys have a great rest of your day. Go Bucks.